Welcome to The Power of Exposure. This is an episode featuring none other than the infamous Sadat Kinley. I've known him since he was in second grade. I'm so proud of him. So excited that he's taken the time out of his busy life and schedule to speak with us about his incredible journey. And I just think you guys are in for a great treat. Enjoy, sit back, relax, and enjoy this conversation with Sadat Kinley. So, hi, Sadat. How you doing?
I'm well. I'm well. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. So tell us a little bit about your background, where you're from, a little bit about your middle school experiences and in high school.
Yeah. I am from Teaneck, New Jersey. I was born in New York, raised in New Jersey. I kind of grew up here. I played basketball at the Biddy Gym, Volchi Park. I feel like I did all the Teaneck kid things. I used to eat candy from Mr. K's. I went to Camp K, like sports and arts, all that good old Teaneck stuff. I did all that.
Yes.
The good old memories and good years all coming back to me. But
You're representing Sankofa School back here.
yeah, still representing Sankofa School. That's right. Yep. But yeah, so went to Teaneck. I went to Hawthorne in elementary school. I went to Benjamin Franklin for middle school. I started playing basketball when I was in middle school, like pretty seriously, on like AAU level. So before I got into eighth grade, I was starting to go to camps and getting a little bit recruited by different high schools and private schools all over New Jersey. So I ended up going to a Catholic school. I didn't go to Teaneck High School. I went to Paramus Catholic and then to Patterson Catholic, mainly because of sports, but ultimately always a Teaneck kid at heart.
Right.
I think to talk about some of my middle school experiences, it's hard to kind of like remember stuff back then. I just remember music being a big deal. I remember clothing, like what you wore was always a big deal. Kind of like I don't know, staying out of trouble. The things that middle school kids do. And I feel like Teaneck in particular, where we grew up, is very diverse. And, it's a gift and a curse because you go to school with kids who come from all different kinds of backgrounds in a positive and negative way. So, it's interesting because everybody merges and, you kind of see how some people grow up and they go down one path and some people grow up and go on another path. But it is always, great to have those connections that you remember from your middle school days. I still have friends from middle school that I keep in touch with that are doing good things as well. So,
That's awesome.
Teaneck is a special place. I think a lot of people from Teaneck do good things. I'll say that.
No, you're right. It is a special place, and that's a great thing. You talked a little bit about not going to Teaneck High. So tell us a little bit about that because I've kind of heard that before with athletes.
Well, it's tough because Teaneck High School has a great lineage of athletes and coaches, and like even winning culture. Like they win a lot, but they don't have essentially the best. I mean, actually, I shouldn't even say that. I don't know. I think part of it is that Catholic schools can recruit and they can go out and get kids. So when you're getting recruited, it's like your parents are getting taken out to dinner. You're kind of wanting to dine in. You might get some free sneakers. Like they know how to like jazz it up to make it feel like it's a little better and special. And then they give you the perception that you're getting a better education because it is a private school. So no shade against Teaneck because it is a great educational school.
Right.
They do give you the perception that when you go to a Catholic school, it's a better education. But all things considered, I don't think it makes that much big of a difference. Teaneck is a great place, and I think overall, all of my friends who went there had just the same experience as I did, if not, a better one.
No, but that's a good point, and I read in your article too, because I do hear that a lot with all sports that a lot of kids choose to go. And, we're fortunate to live in an area where we have so many options with schools, which is
Hmm.
beautiful. I love Teaneck High. Three of my kids graduated from Teaneck High School. But when it comes to sports, Teji played baseball and he was like, we should have gone to another school. We probably shouldn't have gone. And that's unfortunate. I know that the current administration is really looking into how we can keep our brightest and our athletes in the district, because like you said in the article, wow, what a phenomenal school it would even be if they had you know
Yeah,
all the athletes stay in Teaneck. And
yeah, it's tough. I always think about that. Like if we kept, especially I know from my year and like the 2 years before and the 2 years after me, if all the athletes would have stayed in Teaneck and went to Teaneck High School, like you wouldn't believe all the kids that would be in the NBA or just the accolades that the high school would have. Maybe the championships we would have won, things like that. But like if
Wow.
everyone stays, it
Mhm.
makes that big of a difference. New York has the same problem. All the good kids leave. They get poached.
Wow. Wow. Well, I'm all about maybe things can change and you guys are at a different level now. If you're in touch with any of those kids, you guys could actually, talk to administration and maybe talk about some different game plans or some things that might be a little bit better. I know the administration is now doing open house, which a lot of other schools do, which is
Mhm.
really helpful too. But hey, you never know because sometimes folks don't know what to do different and what to do better, so that could be an issue too. So now you went on to Paramus Catholic High School and
Mhm.
you played sports, but you started sports in middle school or elementary school?
I started playing sports in middle school when I was at MBF still.
Wow.
I was in between playing in New York, and then we played a lot of basketball at the Biddy Gym for like Teaneck All Stars.
Wow. Okay. And then you continued on playing in high school.
Yep, yep. So in high school, continued to play. All throughout, was always a good student. Like that was one thing that we preached in my household. It wasn't something that you could just play sports and not have your books right. So just want to make sure I call that out for the kids out there.
Yes. Yes.
It's cool to be an athlete and it's cool to be talented, but it's cooler to have good grades and be able to, go to good schools and get, better educations because you have those grades. So that is something I will say. But definitely sports was a big part of my life in middle school and in high school. Yeah.
No, I'm glad you shouted that out because that is important. And I think kids need to understand that being an athlete is wonderful and everybody wants to get to the professional level or the college level and then professional level, but the percentage is so small. Like, do your thing, but always have a plan B or something that you or the plan A, and then that's plan B if things don't work out because there's injuries as well. And I think it's really important just watching parents who really are into sports and their kids are into sports, I think is good because it can be used to leverage. Like my daughter played soccer in Teaneck and then she got a soccer scholarship
Hmm.
and to college. And I used that to get her through BF and Teaneck High because it was kind of like, hey, you know what? I need you to make sure you stay focused, right?
Hmm.
And stay and so if you want to play soccer, then you got to do your schoolwork, and so you can use that as a parent to definitely leverage that. But I think it's important that the young people that are listening that hear this and the parents that your education is first, because also when you get, I don't know if you were thinking of playing ultimately in college, but we learned that the NCAA and all these other regulations, there are a lot of rules and those grades are super 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 important. Like you got to have really good grades and
Hmm.
to even qualify to play. And some young people don't learn that until later on in life, or maybe their junior or senior year, and now they can't get their GPA up to be
Yep.
able to play. So
Yep. You have to get through the clearinghouse. Your grades have to be good. You have to have, a whole bunch of different things. Your parents have to have good, things, and it's a lot to go through.
and a lot of times,
Mentally, all
so
that
you
stuff.
almost need to know that in eighth grade going into ninth grade. So when you start playing sports, so you can get your stuff together and keep it together throughout the I even learned that there are NCAA approved courses that I didn't even know about. And that you could take the wrong course and then your transcript is not right for the
You don't
clearing.
get the
So
credits.
yeah. So
Yep.
now what happened in high school going into college? Did you continue to play, or how did you what was your next steps?
Yeah. So it's funny because I was playing at a very high level from sixth grade, seventh grade, eighth grade, ninth grade, 10th grade. Like I'm talking from May to August, every weekend we were traveling somewhere, going on a trip to play basketball, whether it was, Miami or Atlanta or like we were all over the place. LA, we were playing everywhere. So
Wow.
different tournaments and things on the AAU circuit. And then by the time I got to my junior year of high school, I had transferred high schools. I went to Paramus Catholic for 1 year. I went to Patterson Catholic for a second year. Played basketball there for a year, and then after my second year, I was pretty worn out, just to be quite frank. And with basketball, I was just in a place where I was ready to say, you know what, I had my piece with it. I used it to make these great connections. I have so many friends, and so many people who I still work with at a professional level that I met back then, that benefits me to this day. So I think at that point I just became at peace with it, and I actually started working. So one of my other habits is, besides playing basketball, is collecting sneakers and being into shoes. You got to have money to buy those shoes. So at that point, I was kind of like, well, I'm broke. I love basketball, but I'm broke. So I went and started working, and that's kind of how it happened. And then summers turned into work summers as opposed to AAU trips.
Wow, that's a really good thing to say, and I'm just imagining and picturing all the sneakers I used to see in
You
your
know,
room.
yeah, you
I
probably
was like,
seen
oh
it.
my God, I didn't know how much they cost, but I just like, wow, he has a lot of sneakers.
Yeah,
But hey, as my husband always says, what's your motivation? And if that's what you got to do to get to the next level. But right here, I just want to give a shout out to your mom and dad because I love them dearly. Your mother and I have been such close friends. She's like a sister to me, a mentor to me. Oh my God, in so many ways. And just to all the parents that are out there that are struggling through the tournaments, I hope y'all are enjoying this little COVID break right now. If you're getting one,
yeah,
I call them
yeah,
COVID blessings because no, that's a lot. Like traveling within your tri-state area is one thing, but when you start traveling to different states and other parts of the country, it's a real commitment. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of time. And so shout out to your mom and dad for fostering all of
thank
that,
you.
encouraging you and being there and having your back. And so that's a beautiful thing. So yeah. So now tell me what happens
Yeah,
working in college, you say.
yeah. So I was when I go to college in 2010, 2009, 10 was my first year of college. And I think in my first year of college, I was worried about working and managing kind of the school workload.
Right.
But it turned out that, you have so much freedom, you don't realize that you have so much free time in a day. So when you're in college, you have what, two, three classes a day, maybe an hour each, 45 minutes at that. So I realized I had so much time on my hands. So I started working while I was in college. And
Nice.
when I was in college, I was working at a computer lab that serviced students with disabilities. And that's kind of where I really learned customer service and really just being organized and having the ability to like teach people and show different people with disabilities how to use the programs that we had to basically provide them the services. And that was cool because it allowed me to be humbled. It allowed me to learn how to communicate differently and communicate effectively because everyone that I spoke to had some kind of different disability when I was working there.
Wow.
And it was a school job, so I was working for the school. They were helping me out. I ended up working there throughout the summer and living in Connecticut for 2 or 3 years while I was in college because of that job. So that was beneficial. That was one job that I learned a lot from, and it was not a job that I wanted to do in a field that I wanted to be in, but it was a job that taught me skills that I still use and a different type of patience and communication style that still benefits me in the job that I have now.
Wow, that's powerful. So, you talked about working in college. How did you end up at the college you ended up at?
So it's funny. I feel like this is something that we should definitely talk about because there's no, at least for me, there was no real guidance on how to pick the right school for me. Like I didn't really know what I was doing when I picked a school, just to be
Yeah.
fully transparent. Like I was looking at schools. I think I got accepted to two schools in New Jersey, and just because of the nature of when you get to graduate high school and everybody says they're going to college in New Jersey, I wanted to go to school out of state. So I was like, all right, well,
Everybody wants to go out of state.
yeah. So everybody's like, yeah, I'm going to Rutgers. I'm going to, Rider, Seton Hall. I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to Connecticut because I got some family up there and it's about an hour and a half away from my parents. So it's far enough where I'm good. And I had family in Connecticut, so that was part of my decision making process. And I went to the school. I went to Southern Connecticut State University, and we went to visit. It was just a nice school, really big campus, super welcoming. Everybody was nice, really diverse. Community of students.
Now,
Um,
what did you major in?
I majored in business administration. So my first year, I majored in accounting.
Okay.
I was an accounting major for 2 years, and I loved accounting. I was a number cruncher. I absolutely loved it. I was doing great. And then I went to my, I think they call them advisors. I went to my student
Uh-huh.
advisor after my first semester of my sophomore year, and this is crazy, but he kind of was explaining to me how many classes I need to take and what I need to do to get out of school. And the plan of the track that he had me on, the only way I could graduate was in 5 years, and I just was not going to accept that.
Wow.
So I changed my entire major. I flipped the course. I was like a couple credits away from a minor in accounting, but I was just determined on graduating, and I really didn't. I was, I was a good student, but I didn't really love the structure of going to school. But I did it because I knew that it was a means to an end. Um,
Right, right, right.
and I did it well because of that. But it's like I was not trying to. Really, it was a financial thing. Just to be very honest, I didn't want to pay for another year of housing, school, tuition, all the things that come with college. So I was determined to get out in 4 years and minimize my debt. Just to be
Hey,
very
that's
honest.
a smart thing. Hey, I get it. I totally get it. Wow, that's very interesting. I remember you actually being an accounting major. So, you know,
Yeah.
and I totally understand that a lot of schools are more like on the 5-year plan. Um
Yeah, but that's not normal. Like all of my friends graduated in 5, 6 years, and I'm like, that's a money pit. Like that's how they get. They draw
College is a
they draw it out.
business. College is a business. I tell that to kids all the time. We were helping some
Mhm.
students this year apply, and I know kids want to get out of Jersey, but I'm like, listen, if you go to Rutgers or Rider or Montclair, your parents are probably ready to let you go, and they are not going to be up at your place on a regular basis. Trust me when I say,
Yeah, right. Right.
doesn't
They're not
matter
gonna be
how close you are,
there.
they're not coming to see you.
Right. Don't worry. Like they are not worried about you. Yeah.
And I try to encourage young people to, go with the money, the cheapest option, because it's a degree, and unless you're specifically majoring in some real specific field that
Yeah.
needs a particular college name behind it, go
Hmm.
where the money is. And the most important thing is while you're there to take advantage of the opportunities and stuff like that. Now, did you ever going back to high school, did you ever do any programs outside? And I know you were really busy with sports. Did you ever do any other programs like business or anything outside of high school?
I'm trying to remember. When I was in high school, did I do anything else? Not really. I can't even remember, to be 100% honest, but I don't think so. I don't know if I did any extracurricular activities. I was an honor roll student. That was about it.
That's
Um,
a great thing. No,
yeah,
because
I think I was a part of the honor roll, whatever it's called.
no, you were. I remember that. Yep.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, but
yep.
that's
At the
it.
at BF. Yep.
Yeah.
I think the reason I'm asking that, especially because you're an athlete, I think that there are a lot of programs out here. Like my kids got to experience a lot of different things that they did.
Hmm.
One did, even though he was an athlete, but he kind of got benched because he did like a Saturday program at Rutgers. Even though they had no Saturday games, it was kind of wild. But I think that a lot of the programs that are set up aren't geared toward athletes, and it's kind of not fair because becoming a professional athlete is such a hard thing to do. So you kind of get to college and maybe still don't know what you want to do because all you've done is your sport. It's so time consuming, and so it kind of like puts you in a situation where, well, all I've done is my sport. So I get to college, I'm kind of like picking a major, I'm not really sure what I want to do, but I'm going to try this and see what happens. But now it's expensive. So if you had figured it out when you're in middle school or high school, like now we've exposed kids to engineering programs in middle school and high school, and
Hmm.
free stuff, business programs that, even I say, wow, if I had known about that, that would have been really cool to be a part of and be exposed to.
Yeah.
So did you do any internships or anything like that in while you were in college?
No, you know what's funny? I was working. Like my. So here's my theory. If you can get work experience, take experience over like intern or school. Like I feel like I'm a believer that experience is always the best teacher, and that like you don't really know what you're doing until you like actually are in it. So it was great to like learn and be a business major and have all those classes and things, but like I didn't really get to this point where I'm at by like knowing the stuff that I learned in school. Not to say that I didn't benefit from going to school, but the things that I really learned that benefit me were relationship building, interpersonal skills, being out in the field, meeting people and networking. Like those are the things that help you grow and help you actually, be a better, employee or whatever it may be. But I think those are the like that's really what counts as opposed to
Right.
class, you know.
No, those soft skills. And you're right. A lot of that is not taught in school. And so either working or sometimes exposure and internships and stuff like that. And that's one of the reasons why we're doing all this, because we want, so because a lot of programs that are out here now in New
Mm-hmm.
York and New Jersey and other places are helping kids build those soft skills and
Mm-hmm.
networking skills. And
One thing I'll say, I'm sorry to cut you off.
no,
One
that's all
thing I'll say is I was trying. I was trying to get internships, but it wasn't easy. And that's why I kind of just diverted to working, because I was about to just make money. I was like, well, I'm just going to start working. And I was privileged to have jobs that, taught me things still.
wow.
But
But
that's
that's really key what you said, that you really did try. And I feel like a lot of young people are out here trying and they can't get their foot in the door. And that's
yeah.
one of the things we were talking about earlier, is like this parent matters, the power of exposure, mimicking like those golf relationships and teaching young people how to connect,
Mm-hmm.
and how to, make those relationships, build those relationships, like find what you really want to do and then find those people that are going to help you get there. Because a lot of these programs, internships, etc., are kind of like slated for people who have the in connection. And
Right.
I think kind of, as a parent, there's a part of me that wondered, oh, kind of, is that like cheating? Like, people and so you get in? And no, it's just relationship building. And if you know somebody who's willing to give you an opportunity that is like, hey, you fit the bill, you have the experience, you have the credentials, then let's try you. Why not? And I think especially in our community, in the Black and brown community, we need to start giving a leg up and helping other people. So my husband always says, if you've arrived at a certain position and you're not reaching back and pulling some other folks up,
Doing your job.
you're not doing your job. So, and
Yeah.
that's what we have to do. We have to remember and remind. And every time my kids have a success, a win, I'm like, okay, so now we got to reach back and like we're talking at BF, the PTO meeting next Tuesday, and I said,
Mm-hmm.
so we got to encourage these young people and let them know that, and help them and help the parents understand the long game.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about what's going to happen right now, and that this is not all miracles happening. This is just people putting in the hard work to get to where you're going. So you go to college, you're working, you've always been passionate about basketball. You
Mm-hmm.
stop playing the game, but you're still working somewhere close to what's related to basketball. Tell us about that story and where you are to lead up to now.
Yeah. So I stopped playing basketball, but I actually remained around the game through coaching. I started to get involved with the Playtime AAU program that's ran out of the Biddy Gym in Teaneck. Shout out to my man Wayne Swanee over there and the Playtime guys there. Great group of gentlemen that have this. I think it's a corporation, or not even corporation. It's just a group of brothers. They call themselves Fathers Know Best, and they I think a foundation is the right word. They have a foundation called Fathers Know Best, and it's a group of fathers who started this AAU program in Teaneck called
Wow.
Playtime. So I got involved with them right. I don't know. I actually might have started working with them when I was in high school, and then I just kept involved with coaching and training individuals. And then once I started working in college, I had to get a real job, so I had to stop doing that back home in Jersey. But I stayed around the game of basketball even after, just in terms of like going to games, knowing who the kids were, getting in touch with my friends who were playing overseas, like just always of the culture and of the sport. So that's
Nice.
what kind of led me to end up working at Nike, actually.
Wow. So tell us about your journey at Nike.
Yeah, so at Nike, I started working right after I graduated college. I wasn't able to keep my job that I had at the computer center, so I had to get a job outside of the school. And my first thought was like, oh, I'm gonna go apply to the Nike store. I'm gonna go work in the shoe store, right, and get a discount so I can buy my shoes for cheaper. So you see where my mind was at. I wasn't thinking about being,
Oh,
but I
good.
was, none of the stuff I'm doing now. I was not thinking about any of that when I graduated college. I can promise you. So that was good, but I started working at the store there and started to learn more about the opportunities that can come about if you kind of work hard and just stay persistent at what you want to do. And at the beginning, I didn't really realize how big of a platform Nike is and how much, potential there is for growth.
Right.
But that was a blessing, because once I realized that and I found out things that I could go after and set goals for myself to kind of chase, like that made it clear that I was in the right place and was kind of on the right path. So yeah, I started in the retail store. About 2 years after working in retail, I transferred down to another retail store, which was a more of a global flagship in New York City by name of Nike Town, New York. I worked at Nike Town, New York for about 2 years and did a bunch of really cool things. It's a store where we have a lot of events, and all the big sporting events that happen in New York City usually have some kind of expression at that store. So we always have athletes coming through and, big name people coming through.
Nice.
So that was fun. And at that store, I got to work with a lot of the marketing people who work at Nike. So just a testament to the power of networking and just relationship building, just literally being around and being on the floor, having conversations, speaking up when those marketing people were around, allowed me to meet people and get opportunities to learn about interviews and opportunities that were coming up in the corporate office. So
Wow.
long story short, I found out about this role that I was really kind of really sought after, and I was really interested in applying for. And I had known about it for about 2 years, and an opportunity came up. The role was called Ekin, and the opportunity came up for me to apply for that role. Long story short, I went for the role, ended up getting it, but the way that I heard about the role and the way that I knew about it was through networking and through knowing people who already had a job. So just a little pro tip there about, like, if you're interested in getting into a career field or something that you want to do, meet people and learn and kind of like be an understudy to people who already have that job. That's literally how it happened for me.
Wow.
So I was able, what's that?
What does Ekin mean? What is that? I saw that in the article too.
Oh yeah, so Ekin is actually Nike backwards. If you spell it backwards, it's Ekin.
Oh,
The reason that we say it's Nike backwards is because Eakins are really like evangelists of the company. Our job was to really go around to different stores, retailers, and people who sell Nike products and evangelize the product, explain to them the new innovations and the technologies and Nike sneakers and apparel. So essentially, we were just, really going around and teaching people about Nike. And you have to know so much about Nike and the brand that you have to basically know it forward and backwards.
wow.
So that's why they flipped the word Nike backwards and call yourself a Aiken.
Wow. Oh, wow. That's pretty cool. So it sounds like almost like a brand ambassador for.
Yeah, it's a fancy name. It's a Nike's name for it. And it's a very like select role. They have them in all the major cities where we have like key stores and everything.
Oh, wow. That's pretty cool. Wow. So that's pretty, amazing. So basketball, what you loved as a kid, that was your passion always,
Mm-hmm.
you majored in business, which is always good for anybody to know and understand business, because you got to know how to make your money work for you and how you
Mm-hmm.
can buy more sneakers, right?
Exactly.
More of what you want, or more stock, or more stock in sneakers, right? So
Yeah. Shout out to the stocks right now. Everything's booming.
definitely. Let me tell you, my kids are like, they're all watching these different things and they're investing. And they even did like a family Zoom call sharing tidbits and,
Good,
they're
good. I love that.
low key day traders.
Yeah, I love that. That's right. Do it now. It's the
Yeah.
time to learn.
I don't understand it, most of it. So I'm like, okay, whatever y'all are saying, I'm going to do. But
Yeah.
all right, so now you're in Ekin. And what role are you in now? Are you still in Ekin, or what's that considered? Um,
No, so that was a couple years ago. Right now, I work on the Jordan Brand sports marketing team, based out of the world headquarters, Nike world headquarters in Portland, Oregon. So that's my current title. Previous to this title, right after being in Eakin, I was Nike basketball specialist for Nike brand marketing in New York City. So
wow.
a lot of basketball events. Anybody who's heard of like New York versus New York, Kyrie Invitational, the Mamba League, any of those things like basketball events in New York. I was a part of the team that helped create and produce those events, and along with thousands and many other things. But yeah, so that was
You've
that
met
was,
a lot of professional athletes. You've met a lot of professional athletes along the way.
absolutely, yeah. So those were that's how I ended up in the position that with the job that I have now, which is sports marketing. So we really on the Jordan side, I work directly with the athletes that the Jordan brand sponsors on the NBA side of things. So um,
Wow.
starting out, playing basketball, and now kind of really working on the business side of the game.
Wow. So how long have you been in Portland? I know you're because of COVID, you're back home, but how long did you get to live out there?
Yeah, it's funny. I moved to Portland in January of 2020.
Wow.
So I was there for maybe, I didn't even fully get into my apartment until like February, because you move and then you got to be in temporary housing, your stuff has to ship. So I didn't get into my apartment until February. And then COVID happened like the first or second week of March. So I was in Portland for maybe 2.5 months before quarantine.
Wow.
And then I came home and then I went back. So I just spent the summer kind of back, not really actually. I was home for a month and I went back and spent the summer there. And then
Yeah.
I just recently came back to be here for the holidays.
So in the article, I read something about it being like a campus. What is that when you say, is it like a full, like a college campus type of thing, the way Nike headquarters is?
Yeah, absolutely. So Nike headquarters is literally like a college campus. It's huge. I don't even know all the specs. I would have had my note cards ready to give you the breakdown of the campus, but it's really cool. I mean, Google it. It's really cool. It's huge.
Can anybody go visit the campus, or you have to be invited, or is it how does that work?
In COVID, it's not so open, but
Right.
in normal times, you can go and like get a tour and check it out. They have different buildings that are named after all the famous Nike and Jordan athletes. Um,
Wow.
Statues and cool artifacts all over the place. There's a huge lake. There's a gym. Actually, Nike is building the two newest buildings under construction right now at Nike are the LeBron James building and the Serena Williams building. The Serena Williams building will be, I think, the tallest building in the state of Oregon, right on Nike campus. So
Oh.
pretty cool and pretty legendary that all these African American athletes are being honored. So in
Yes.
such a grand way. Yep.
That's pretty crazy. I've never been. The furthest I've been is like San Francisco, briefly, but I've never been that far up north. So I definitely got to make a trip. I actually have my sister's house, unfortunately, here in Teaneck. She lives right off Route 4, and it was a bad accident in July. So her house actually caught fire from the accident on Route 4, and so we had to move everything out. And when I worked for I don't know if you know this, but I worked for the LA Clippers and the oh my gosh, I can't even think of the team. The football team that was the Raiders, the LA Raiders. Oh my
Oh
God.
yeah. I
I
didn't
am
know that.
not a big sports fan, so forgive me with all of this. So because I worked for the LA Coliseum and Sports Arena, everybody wanted to be my friend. Everybody wanted tickets. I was like, what? I think I went to 2 basketball games. And it was so funny because my mother would come to visit me and we'd be in the Clipper Club and she would be going, and I was going through a divorce, and she'd be going past all the cars because everybody had their cars parked up all the basketball players, and she's like, "Why don't you just pick one of these cars and date one of these guys?" And I'm like, "Mom, how it works."
Not exactly how it works.
Dating, like, oh, like just pick a car. But so one of the highlights, my nephew has cerebral palsy, and for his 18th birthday, I was there. It was Chicago Bulls versus the Clippers. So I went down, saw Michael Jordan walking through, and was like, "Hey!" And so he used to play basketball with my ex-husband in Durham, North Carolina. And he was at
Mm,
Chapel Hill, and they would all meet up and play or whatever. So I don't know if he
yeah.
remembered him, but he was like, follow me into the locker room," and he signed the ball for my nephew. So I still have it in the case. So when my
Oh,
sister's
wow.
house, when she had this accident, I'm like, wait, I gotta get that ball out of that. But it's so
Wow.
funny because because I'm short. I did not know how tall these dudes were. I was like, yo, I was running to keep up with him. He's like, where you at? I'm like, I'm coming. But it was so funny. Such a wonderful gentleman, and just all the athletes that I happen to meet. My mother's a big baseball fan, or was a big baseball fan, and so she got to meet Darryl Strawberry and all the baseball athletes coming through the Clipper Club and hanging out and that kind of thing. But so it was a big highlight for her. But
Amazing story. That's a good one.
yeah. So I had to grab that out. I was like, wait, I mean, like, people are like, oh my God, that thing must be worth a lot. And I lived out in LA. I actually was out there during the LA riots. So, and that's when Janine was born in 91, 92, that kind of.
Mm-hmm.
So it was around somewhere around between 89 and 92 that I got that ball signed from him. I'm sure you put the date on there, but
That was one of his championship years.
was it really?
Yeah,
Okay.
he won in '91. That might have been his first championship.
Oh wow! You know what? And yeah, and I used to actually go to the UNC Chapel Hill because I went to school in Durham, North Carolina. That's where I lived, and so we would always be down there at different games and that kind of stuff. So yeah, small world. And our families are from the same area. We
In
actually
North
have
Carolina.
land in North Carolina. Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
yeah. But so yeah. So what's next for Sadat? What's going on, and how do you feel about where you are now? And what is the how long have you been in this position? And
I've been in this position. It'll be a year in January. Well, actually, it's a year this month.
oh wow.
I technically got hired in December, but yeah, it's been about a year.
So
Um,
what's the highlight of what you do? Like what's a day in the life of Sadat Kinley?
well, it hasn't been normal for.
Well, okay,
It hasn't been
that's
normal
true.
for. I haven't had a normal day,
Last
honestly.
January, what was it like for
And
about 30 days?
I know. In January, it was all over the place because I just moved across the whole country, and
Yeah.
you know, in the first 30 days on the job, you're absorbing everything. You're just meeting people. I didn't hardly know anybody and stuff. So,
Wow.
it was interesting. But I mean, we had one big event that was a really good success, which was All Star Weekend. That was a highlight of 2020 that I could say.
Nice.
That I'm thankful for. But that was like the last time the world was like actually open and everybody was outside. But after that, I don't know. I feel like, you know, I don't know. This year, from a career perspective, has been a little weird, but from a life perspective, it's been a good year. I think
Yeah.
a lot of things to be thankful for. A lot of eye-opening revelations came from just like still time and this quarantine. You know, I don't want to call it that, but it is. You know, just
Yeah.
having time to be inside and think about yourself, work on yourself, get healthy. And focus on
Yep.
things that are beyond your career and really impact your soul and your life. So it's been a blessing that I've had this time this year to kind of really focus on those things and
Mm-hmm.
get
No.
better in other ways.
No, that's beautiful. I definitely look at it like that too. COVID blessings, like, so many things, just being able to spend more time with family and certain things, you just wouldn't be able to do. Like having my three kids home, two would be in college right now, being able to sit in and listen in on their college classes, my
Right.
high school student being able to listen in on her classes and her being able to hear college, and seeing two different perspectives from college from her brothers. And so there are a lot of, I mean, I know there's a lot of struggle. Listen, I lost my mom with this. So,
Yeah.
but there are so many blessings that are coming out of us sitting still and
Mhm.
and looking at ways to do better and be better, and maybe communities coming together and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm gonna tell you something. I didn't really believe because I had just come back from a cruise in Europe, and when everything was kind of shutting down, I think when it really sank in is when they said the NBA was shutting down. I was like, wait a
Yeah, that's when it got real. That's when it was serious.
minute. I was like,
I was at one of the last NBA games the day
really?
before they shut everything down, and it was so eerie because everyone knew about the virus and everyone was anticipating, something happening, but no one knew it was going to be like a shutdown or what was going to happen. And then the next day, I was at the Blazers Jazz game, the Blazers Suns game, and the next day they had a game and then they didn't play. But I remember that I was at the game and it was so weird because everyone in there was like looking around at each other. I remember there was some people in the crowd dressed up in hazmat suits as a joke.
Wow.
Like they were all just being silly. But yeah, I remember that. Yeah, once the NBA shut
Wait,
down, is
so,
when
so
everybody.
all the fans were there, and then they announced that they were not going to play after the people were there. Is that what it was?
No, that was just the last game. That was the last regular game, and it
Uh-huh.
was weird. Like people didn't even like a lot of people didn't a lot of people didn't show up.
Oh,
The arena wasn't even full. It was like a weird day because everybody we came to the game goes, you have a ticket to the game, you're gonna go. But it was like everyone in there was kind of like, should I be sitting here? Should I be touching anything? Like
oh
it was
wow,
a weird vibe. And then the next day, they announced that somebody from the NBA had got it. At that time, I think it was only like
wow.
Idris Alba and like only like 3 weird people had gotten it at that time. So we were all like, oh, we're good. Like we were like, black people can't get it. We were thinking all kind of crazy stuff. Remember that time?
Yes. The rumors were flying, man. Like, what is
Yeah.
happening? Yeah, it still seems surreal. I'm like finding notes from my cruise because I got back from Rome on March 7th. And I'm like, whoa, like I feel like the world like shut down on the 14th. My son was in Costa Rica, study abroad, and he's like, should I come home? Should I come home? And I'm like, bro, I already bought you a ticket because I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, don't mess with the
I went,
customs thing.
yeah, I went and picked up Seti from Howard, and he's like, should I bring everything? And I'm like, yeah. And, people's stuff, honestly, because the school, nobody knew what was happening. People couldn't get their stuff to like July, August, because they had shut the school down, but everything shut down in March, and because it would happen to be spring break. So people were already home, and
right.
it was craziness. So, but, thank God we're still here. We're struggling through it. We're coping through it. And you know what? I think the world's going to be a better place when we get back to everybody's going to live and think a little bit differently, I hope, and we won't be operating the same as we were before. And hopefully we'll all be out of this quarantine real soon. So now, I don't watch sports. Are they back and doing their thing? Everybody's back in
college. Well, it's not normal, but college basketball is back. The NBA is coming back about the week before Christmas. NFL is so like most sports are back. It's just not normal. There's not full arenas full of fans. Games are getting canceled because players are starting to test positive. They're trying to make it happen. It's there's too much of a business machine behind sports to not try. So, they're trying to make it work.
Well, thank God, you and other people, hopefully, were able, to keep their jobs because, you shut down whole industries that depend on fans and money and that kind of stuff. It's like, whoa, I'm sure that there were a lot of different cuts in so many different ways in so many different areas. So thank goodness, you're still employed and a lot of us are working remotely and hopefully now that we have a new administration in office and moving forward with the vaccine and all these different things that, the world will kind of get back to a little bit. I don't know if it'll ever be normal again, but
no.
Yeah, I know. So everything I've done is kind of like, whoa, I'm so glad I did that.
Yeah, I know.
I just come back from a 30-day trip in Europe, in Africa. I went to Egypt, finally made it to Egypt.
Wow, I'm jealous. I'm gonna go to Egypt.
Yes. And I called your mom from there. I cried. I was just like, oh my God, Valley of the Kings. It was so emotional, and it took me back to everything your mother has taught me and instilled in me. And it was just like, oh, wow. I called her from there. I FaceTimed her and I was like, I'm here and I'm just mad you're not here with me. But, because I'm trying to go back in my brain, everything I've learned. And I'm like, oh, I know this.
You know what's so funny? I was like joke about this, but we really used to read hieroglyphics like as kids. Isn't that crazy? Like to think about that. Like we used to go to those museums and be reading the stuff on the wall. People be like, what the heck? Like
y'all don't even understand.
They don't know. Like,
y'all
are really teaching us about our history in a different kind of way. Like
that's why I love your mom so much, because that foundation, if we could get that in every child, oh my God, you know what? I think we could change the whole world. I'm serious. And every young person of color, if they understood where they're from there. So being there, I was like, pictures do nothing. I was like, what is happening right now?
That's powerful.
Yeah, so I can't wait to get back because I was only there for like 2 days. So I got to get back there. And that's all I can say. It was just kind of like a taste to visit and see. But I'm glad I went because I almost didn't take that trip. So my son says to me, you took the very last vacation in the world.
Yeah. Literally.
Like you got the last vacation, Mom. Like, yeah, you're right. So I just want to say thank you. Before we end, I just want you to, if a young person is listening in middle school, high school, what advice would you give them? And to hang in there, because we don't know what remote learning is like because you and I have never had to do that. But I know there are a lot of parents and kids struggling through this remote life, and not being able to play sports like they do, and that's a big part of just keeping you socially happy and your well-being and happiness. So in addition to your career advice, what advice would you give to a young person that's listening and through life and to get to maybe where you are one day?
Yeah, I think a couple things. One, I think always have a plan. Like through anything that you're doing, always have a plan. Always set goals. If you have a plan, you have something that you're aiming towards, and you have something to kind of plan against and look forward to and maneuver. So like have a plan. I feel like that's a big thing. Like most kids kind of fly by the seat of their pants and go to school and not really know. If you have at least some kind of plan and some idea, then someone can't sway you, right? Because you already have your point of view.
Right.
The other thing I'll say is you can't be afraid of hard work, and you can't like they say, pressure makes diamonds, right? Like
Hmm.
I didn't get here by getting something handed out to me. You have to work hard. Everybody has to put in their work. Everybody's gonna have a story. Everybody's journey is gonna be different. But the one thing that will be consistent is dedication and hard work, no matter what career, no matter what you want to do. And I think the topic of this conversation has kind of been like really just to follow your passion. And I can't stress that enough because I think no matter what you do, if you follow your passion, you will find everything else. Financials will come together, life will come together, careers will come together. If you really follow what you want to do and you truly put everything you have behind that, there's nothing else that can happen but success because the universe is not going to allow somebody to fail who is following something that is truly in tune with who they are and their real innate passion. So I think it's tough to find your passion. Sometimes people have things they like and interested in, and it's not necessarily their passion, right? So I think find your passion, don't settle, and once you do find it, follow it with everything that you have, and it's a pretty good formula for me. So hopefully it works for you too.
That's awesome. That's phenomenal. So, listen, have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
Hugs to mom and dad. I'm really sad with this whole thing that we can't get to see each other and hug each other like we normally do.
right, right.
But yeah, I know your mom knows I'm there in spirit, and
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
every once in a while I'll just show up to the door.
Yeah, yeah, she loves your pop ups.
Yes, yes, I am definitely good for that. So
Yep.
yeah, Sadat, I just can't tell you how proud I am of you. Keep doing what you're doing. As you're climbing, keep lifting. You're in my prayers, and I just,
Likewise.
thank you, thank you, thank you. This is a powerful talk that is going to be so inspirational to so many young people that just need to know to hang in there, get exposed to as much as you can until you find your thing. And not everybody finds it right away, but it's there because everybody's on this planet for something. And once you find your thing, just go hard.
And you just made me think of one more tip that I'll add. Keep your relationships. Don't let relationships fall aside, and you have to stay in touch with people. I'll tell you one thing. I have people who I met in high school, who I played basketball with in middle school, who I literally work side by side with today.
Wow.
So you never know who's going to come back to help you out. You never know who's going to be, President Obama one day. So like, keep your relationships and make sure that you have a strong and reliable network.
That's a really good point. I'm going to touch on that too, because, I tell my kids, like holidays are big for a lot of people. And it's a really good time if you haven't, for whatever reason, touch base with somebody
Right,
and, to like pick up a card. Like I'm big on that. Get a box of cards and be like, hey, just touch you in the face, or even just send a text. Hey, happy
right,
Thanksgiving, happy holidays. And I just want to see how you're doing. But it's a really good time and a really good time to rekindle a relationship. But yeah, giving back and I actually told my son recently to reach out, and I always tell my kids this, to your teachers, and I know you and Janine had Miss Smith, to
right.
touch base with them, because for teachers it kind of fuels them, you know, when
Mm.
they hear from some of their former students and they're like, wow, you're doing well, because teaching is probably the hardest
Oh,
thing you could
yeah.
ever do on the planet, especially now. And for them to see their students doing well, it's just like, oh, this
Yeah, yeah,
kind
yeah.
of gives them that fuel. I actually think Teji's gonna reach out to his kindergarten teacher, and she called for his 21st birthday. He's gonna try to get a group Zoom, and
Oh,
they're gonna like surprise her. And yeah, and like of all the kids was in his kindergarten class and stuff like that. So you know, that's really powerful. So on that note, definitely, you know, stop by, holla at Miss Smith. She would love to hear from you and see
she's
you.
still, yeah, I'll definitely stop by. Is she
Yeah,
still right there by the high school?
yep, she's still
Oh,
right
wow.
there. Yes,
Yeah, yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes. So she's on Facebook. I don't know if she's on Instagram, but she's on Facebook. Every once
I've
in a
seen
while,
her a
she
few times
chimes
over
in.
the years.
Yeah, yeah, doing her thing. And Dr. Terry, you know, she's a big part of the village. The village, you
Yeah,
know.
she was my doctor for
Yes,
years.
yes, yeah. I know. So yeah, so that's key. So you're right about those relationships and keeping those relationships.
Relationships are everything. I
You
can't.
never
I
know.
just had an informational with somebody earlier today, and they were like, "Oh, how do you get in? How do you do this? How do you do that?" And I'm like, "It's a relationship business. You know, you can't just ask like, how do you do it? Because there's no answer for that. It's really just who do you know, who's gonna vouch for you when you're not there. Who, you know,
Yep.
it's your network.
Amen.
Network is your net worth, as they
Yeah.
say.
No, you're right. And that's so key. And the one thing I've learned about successful people is they always want to help and they always want to see you do well too. So like I know I was talking to someone recently and they said, you know, find who you want to be and reach out to them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And all they could do is say no,
right.
you know, and if they, you know, just say, hey, I need some advice. I need to be mentored. I just want to, you know, and so a lot of, I get it. And I see it even my own kids that they're a little shy and they're like, I don't really want to bother somebody. I'm like, bother them. I think they want to be bothered, you know,
Yeah,
and if
and there's,
they
there's
can't,
always a right way to do it. You know, there's
that's
always
right.
the right way to do it. Be respectful. Make sure your grandma's on point. Like there's always a right way to do it. Seriously, if you come correct, then you might get a correct response. But you know,
That's
people
really good.
people take details very serious. Attention to detail is everything, especially in my business. If I spell somebody's name wrong in a presentation, I could ruin a whole deal. So like
Wow.
attention to detail is
That
very
is
very important.
so important that you said that.
That's another tidbit.
Yes, yes, yes. No, wow. Thank you again, Sadat. I really appreciate your time, your energy. And I'll definitely share this with you before it actually hits the press. It'll probably
Yeah,
take
no
a few
problem.
days
Yeah,
to edit
yeah,
it, but thank you. And I look forward to spending time and hearing from you and all the great things you do in the future. Just
yep.
don't forget
And
about
thank
us
you for this.
peon. Don't forget about us peons here in Teaneck when, you know.
Never, never. You see where I'm at right now. I'm right in the basement where I grew up. No, but I wanted to say thank you as well. This is amazing. It's a great platform, and you know, for the kids watching, like definitely take the stuff seriously. I had a good upbringing, but I'm glad to have you know a platform and resources for you guys, and I'm glad that you guys have these kind of resources because not everyone does. So just
Man.
thank you, Miss Rona. I appreciate you having this platform and I'm privileged to be a part of it and speak to you guys. So thank you.
Yeah. So if a young person wants to reach out to you to ask you a question or advice, is there a best way for them to contact you? Are you on social media and
The best way to contact me is email
okay.
sadat.kinley@nike.com.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome. Say it one more time. I think I talked over it.
Sadat.kinley@nike.com.
Perfect. Perfect. Wonderful. Excellent. All right, darling.
Okay.
Well, love you. Wakanda
I'll be
hugs.
yes,
Mwah.
yes, yes.
All right. Take care.
All right.
Bye.
Peace.